I guess it's time to address the elephant in the room. So, the Luna collapse and how it impacted my portfolio. I'm not sure anyone will actually watch it, but if it is at least one person, I guess it is worth recording. I know that people learn on their own mistakes, but if someone at least would rethink his investment strategy after watching this one, it is still a success. So I lost about $9K on Luna alone, and let's see how and why. First of all, whose fault was it that I lost around 65% of my portfolio due to the Luna collapse? I'd say it is 99% my fault and 1% the Kwons or someone else who's been involved in it. Why? Because I could save like 80 to 90% of my invested capital in Luna if I would just follow the reasonable thinking. So how I could save most of my money invested in Luna ecosystem? Basically selling my Luna and UST position when it was still on a reasonable level. I got some UST locked, like around 8 to 9,000 locked in Pylon vaults. But then I think after 24 hours, Pylon unlocked the vaults. And here has been my first mistake, that I haven't been tracking the Pylon announcements. I just assumed that that money is locked and I cannot withdraw it. But then after around 24 hours, I think they allowed withdrawing money via interaction with the smart contract. And then after like 40 to maybe 48 hours, they created the user interface to withdraw money. And actually, I learned this from Twitter, I think, but I guess I acted like 24 hours too late. The good thing I acted at all, but generally I could save more withdrawing sooner from Pylon. Another mistake which could have been avoided was on my wife's account in Nexo. So Nexo has given around 17% interest on UST. That's why I advised her to exchange some USDC into UST. And then when I've seen that UST is collapsing, I could just swap it back, losing probably 10%. But I was waiting for some miracle. I don't know why, because I actually analyzed the on-chain data and checked what is the BTC reserve. And I knew that at the end Luna will collapse together with the UST. But for some reason, I haven't been swapping that. And actually that part on my wife's account, that cost me around 3K US dollars. And actually that could be like 500 tops if I would swap this the first day after I've seen that the USD is unpacked. That was totally unreasonable to keep it, but for some reason I've kept it, and that could be totally avoided. I guess there was two reasons. One was that I was still hoping that they would somehow revive the pack, which was totally unreasonable. Another thing was probably that I was a bit ashamed that my investment advice was so lame, and instead of cutting the loss to 10%, it was like 50, maybe even 60% on Nexo. So yes, that was really lame. And actually there is a rule, you should cut your loss when it's around 10%, but for some reason I haven't done it, so that was the stupidest thing. And actually on my account, in my TerraStation wallet, actually I sold almost all Luna immediately, and I moved around 1200 USD to Avalanche network. So actually that was a really good move, although at the moment it is worth around 35% of the original value, but it haven't collapsed as it was invested in Luna. So that was a good move. But then I thought that my Pylon vaults are locked, but I haven't checked on the Pylon forum, I haven't checked on the Pylon Twitter, and I could just remove this when USD was worth around probably 70, maybe even 80 cents. So this second mistake has been even more costly, because I lost around 6K USD on the money I kept in my Terra Station and Pylon gateway, and I could remove it earlier, losing much less, like probably 2k, but I was not keeping track on the Pylon announcements. And then there has been an array of mistakes later, even though when I successfully removed my UST from Pylon gateway, I think I've accumulated around $8,600. I sold some Luna, but most of my Luna, well, not a big amount, has been locked in staking. But then I got this 8.6k USD and I moved this to Binance to sell it. And then I made a mistake because I could sell it for around 41 cents per USD, so with 59% loss, still a big loss. But since the price has been changing a lot there and it was rising and falling down, rising and falling down all the time, instead of selling with the spot price, I set the sell order but with price which was a bit higher than the current price, because I was hoping that yeah, sure, that would move like 5% up. And no, for the next 2 hours it haven't moved, it was just falling down constantly. So at the end I think I sold for around 33, maybe 35 cents per USD. So actually I lost like 65 to 67% on each dollar invested there. And it was the second mistake, because I could save here like another $5, maybe $700. So the loss on the Luna Network side is like totally my fault, because I could remove from Pylon earlier and I could sell at a higher price. So it is totally my fault. There, after the Luna collapse, there was also a global impact on the crypto market. So I guess I lost another 2,000 on the price change. There were two reasons I lost 2k, maybe 3. So actually I could lose more, but I got a strategy to keep at least 55% in stable coins. So sure, UST hasn't been that stable, but I got some money in USDC and Pax Gold. So actually that's been quite safe. Although gold dropped a bit, the rest been safe, but the other 35% was in some more dynamic assets like Ethereum, Polygon and stuff like that. And that's why I lost 2k. I could convert this back to USDC, cutting the loss, but for some reason I kept this. Maybe there were some external reasons. For example, my Avalanche position has been locked in staking, so I couldn't do anything about it. And some of my crypto assets were a collateral for Nexa loan, but I could swap them even though to USDC, because it is allowed on Nexo to swap the collateral. So yeah, that was another mistake. So at the end, there was another 2k lost due to the Luna collapse, because it impacted the whole crypto market. So at the moment, my portfolio sits at around of 36% of the initial value in US dollar. That means I lost 64% due to the Luna collapse and the after effects of the collapse. But it sits at 38% in my national currency, because lately during the last half a year, the exchange rate changed and actually the currency of my country, which is Polish zloty, collapsed a bit. But based on the exchange rate, I've been buying my crypto assets. I also earned around 2% just on the exchange rate. So at the end, in my native currency in Poland, I lost like 62%. And of course, the portfolio is not only crypto, there is also some stock and some commodities. And for stock and commodities, both are around minus 20% of the initial value. So the Luna is not the only reason the portfolio is down that much, but it is the main reason. Could that loss been avoided at all? I'd say most of it could have been avoided even before the Luna collapsed. So there was a long list of red flags, which I ignored. That's why I lost that much. I could either lost like 10% because I was locked in Pylon. If I wouldn't locked my money in Pylon, there was a chance to lose nothing. But let's go through the red flags. So my first red flag is that Do Kwon has been portraying himself as a young and pretty and healthy guy, while in reality he's a old fat guy. You may say, oh, the look doesn't matter. But in that case, it matters. If someone is portraying himself as someone else, then he's lying about his look. Then he's lying about his appearance. So if someone is that shallow that he lies about his appearance, that means that he would lie easily about anything else. So that was a real red flag. But for some reason, I haven't been paying attention. I've been following Do Kwon on Twitter, and there was this photo of a young, pretty, and genius guy. So what could go wrong? Probably if I knew that this is old, fat guy, it would get me thinking, but I haven't checked it before, so that's actually the red flag. I was not really aware, but I could be aware if I checked just one interview with Do Kwon. That could be avoided, because that would get me thinking. The guy is lying about his appearance, so he's probably lying about everything else. Then there was some people saying the Luna is scam, but they were doing it the wrong way. So they actually, first of all, they haven't got the hard evidence. They were just saying, oh, they think it is a scam because you cannot sustain 20% interest rate on Anchor and stuff like that, but they haven't got any arguments based on the on-chain data. And actually the arguments were there all the time, but they were just mocking people who invested in Luna, but they were selling that information in a sarcastic and hostile way. And that way they created a hostility between the Luna followers, like lunatics. I'm not lunatic in any way. I don't like cult of anything. So I was just investing in Luna ecosystem, mostly in UST. But generally, the people who criticize the Luna network, they've done it the wrong way. Instead of using arguments, they were just like bullies, making fun of people who invested there, and that actually created the opposite effect it should. So generally, if someone would use real arguments and say why it's gonna collapse, maybe that would save some people. But actually, the way most of so-called analytics sold that information, it actually created the opposite reaction from retail investors, because they thought like, oh, they are mocking other people from investing in Luna ecosystem. That means that probably is a good investment, because they want the interest for themselves. So actually, I guess that the result was the opposite, as it should. Then before the collapse, I checked the on-chain data, which was actually publicly available in the Luna network. So I've seen that there is a never-ending supply of Luna. Generally, they advertise the mechanism to balance the UST peg. And so actually, there should be a time when the Luna circulating on the market should be lower, but that never happened. Always, day by day, there was more Luna printed somehow. That got me thinking that there is something wrong with that algorithm. Either the algorithm does not exist or it works wrongly. I don't know. I'm not an on-chain expert, but based on what they advertised, that should be otherwise than like never-ending supply of Luna. And sometimes when you compare day by day, there has been like millions of new Luna in the Luna network. So that was quite weird, and that got me thinking. But again, I was like, oh no, it's for sure everything is fine, and I don't know what I'm talking about. So yes, I shouldn't be worried, and actually I should. But then when the UST unpacked, I guess the next red flag has been that Do Kwon waited like 24 hours till he posted his strategy to save Luna on Twitter, and actually probably already Pylon allowed to withdraw the money from the vaults, but I was not aware. And still, I could check it and I could remove it, but based on what Do Kwon posted, I was like, oh yes, he's going to save the peg. Bullshit. Then I also checked the value of the BTC reserve they supposedly created to save the Luna. And the simple mathematics showed that it is not possible to save the peg even if they buy Luna for the whole reserve. And then I could remove my money from the Luna ecosystem, saving probably 80% of I put there, losing 20, maybe 25%. But still, I was like, no, he will reestablish the peg, or the Luna community will reestablish the peg. Another bullshit. Another red flag, when he actually said that he's gonna save the peg with his BTC reserve. Actually, the BTC reserve has been moved to some strange address or addresses. I checked the on-chain data. Sure, some address has been a Binance wallet, but then really big chunk of BTC has been removed from the wallet and moved somewhere else. And it seems that actually that has been moved into the Tumblr. I knew something is wrong with it, but still I denied it. So that's another mistake on my side. I knew they are not using the BTC reserve to save Luna, but somehow I still kept my money in UST. So when the UST was at 75, maybe 80 cents, it was already too late to save the peg, because the BTC reserve has been too small. Maybe market would help, maybe there was still a chance, but they actually moved the BTC reserve somewhere else because they just wanted to save their money, not your money. So that was next red flag. And then actually when most of the analytics confirm that actually that spiral already happened, and the only end is that both Luna and UST would collapse to 0 cents, I was still like, oh no, they're gonna restore the peg, maybe in the future. And I still kept my UST for some amount of time, for like another 24 hours. But then when it was at 40 cents, maybe 45, I just realized, okay, the hope is gone and I should sell it as soon as possible. But I should have done this like 2 days before. And also, I guess the main red flag was, it's too good to be true. Like 19 to 20% interest rate on Anchor has been kind of suspicious, although it is always the same whenever it's a pyramid scheme, it's a Ponzi or MLM. You think, yeah, I'm gonna make really nice money. And actually they were quite conservative on the interest rate. Like other Ponzi's promise you like 60% a year, 100% a year, 300% a year. So you know immediately is a scam. So here they were at 20. So you think, maybe they know what they're doing. So actually that was on this lowest level possible for the scam. But that was still a thing to consider, that maybe it's a scam, maybe it is built from the scratch to scam you. And actually it turned out that way. And that was the third time that Do Kwon scammed people that way. But this time that was on the biggest scale. And actually everybody knows what happened then. So in my opinion, the whole Luna has been a scam from the beginning. So it was designed to scam people, or they created the way to do it. And they knew from the beginning that they gonna scam everyone who is part of the network. So in my opinion, that plan has been created either before even Luna existed, or they created this on the way when they created the Luna and UST and all the stable coins. And they knew already, they planned it. So I bet it's not a Do Kwon himself, but it was Do Kwon plus some guys who actually collapsed the Luna at the end, pumping out a lot of money. We know that it was like at least $3 billion, but probably more. So that was designed that way, and that was created to just get this money out of the market, out of your pocket. And I bet Do Kwon wouldn't face any jail time in his life, because he got like $3 billion at the moment. His net worth is like that, so he can buy his innocence. Even if he pay $1 billion for that, he's still left with 2, so he can live happily ever after. But I guess he's going to scam more people with his Luna 2 project. So I'd say, if you got any money there, just remove it. I also knew I shouldn't put my life savings into the crypto market, and I haven't. I put some excess money. Sure, it was probably most of my portfolio, and I've been moving this out of crypto into other assets. but I wanted to just generate some additional interest and then move it to other assets out of the crypto market, but I failed. But at the end, my loss was just savings from like 8, maybe 10 months. So it wasn't the critical loss. Sure, it was a big loss, but it wasn't critical. I still got money for the food. I still got money for my rent. I still got money to pay for my fuel. I still got money to pay my bills for electricity and stuff like that. So it was a loss, but it's not a critical loss. But I know some people invested like their life savings into Luna ecosystem, or they invested their kids' college funds there, or they took a mortgage to put money into the Luna and they lost everything and they are left with huge mortgage. So actually they would work their ass off till end of their life to pay it. So that's really sad, but actually it's totally their fault, because everybody know you shouldn't invest everything in one project, especially if it is crypto project. So I'd say that's totally their fault. I still pity them, but investing in crypto and investing in general is a conscious decision. So actually they made a decision and it is 99% their fault. They lost that money, the same as it is 99% my fault I lost my money. So actually you are a responsible person for investing your money, not anyone else. Sure, I could invest that money differently. For example, I could buy a plot of land, but probably I would lose money anyway on it, because for that money I wouldn't be able to buy anything good. And also current condition of the real estate market in Poland is not good, so probably I would lose like 20 to 50% on it. But at least I would have some patch of land. I could also bought something that would give back, at least on a small steady pace, like some machine, some power tools, or maybe camera equipment that I could earn some money using it. So even though that investment would lose the value because the machines or the camera equipment is losing value quite fast, but probably I would be able to earn some money using it. So at the end, I wouldn't lose that much, or I wouldn't lose at all, or maybe I would even been able to generate some interest of it. But I've decided to invest in Luna, and that's why with all my bad decisions later, I lost around 65% of the initial investment. So it's a hardly and costly mistake, but actually it's a lesson we all should learn on. For sure, I learned on it, but I hope you'd also get something out of it and you will avoid doing stuff like that in the future. So at least I haven't lost my whole portfolio because I diversified my investment, but the mistake was that I haven't diversified the stablecoin investment enough, and that's why such a big loss. Try to use this lesson for your benefits and do not invest into scam like Luna. Thanks.